Study be brilliant and let it nurture and nourish us, both, and let both make an effort to know, right? So this is the prayer, and let there not be any obstacles. So this is the prayer in that learning process. So let's start with the prayer. Sahana vavatu, sahanau bhunaktu, sahaviryam karavavahai, tejasvinavadhitamastu ma vidyushavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Welcome everybody. I'm really happy to see you. So every year we think that now we have technology and I do online classes and I see many of you in my online classes. So I always ask myself a question: is there any need for me to be here physically to, now we can rely on technology, right? And every time I see your smiling face and I see your warmth and all the love that I get, I said, no, I have to come back. So that's lovely. I really feel so happy, and now I know some of you for so many years and year after year. And I think what happens is there is a lot of learning which takes place, but it happens not in a serious kind of a context. But there is a sense of celebration, there is a lot of smile, there is a lot of love exchange. And I think that fills our heart, really. And this afternoon, I'm so happy Marianne is here. I was so happy to see her. I met her in India and in a retreat in Udupi. And, and what she told me is that, Vedanta, of course, it's nice, but I came to see you. And that was, wow, it really touched my heart. So, this kind of love means a lot to us. So, the book, so today, this time we are doing chapter 8, 9 and 10 from the book, Living the Vision of Oneness. And first, let me just little bit explain that why did we decide to write the book in the first place. So over the years, I was introduced to Vedanta when I was 22 years old, and now I'm 62 years old. So it is 42 years of journey with Vedanta. And I was a young student in the US, and I met my teacher, Swami Dayananda Saraswati, and I spent many years with him. And he was a genius. I felt that he was a genius. And while he was extremely brilliant, he was also very human. He didn't only have this extremely refined intellectual mind. He was truly compassionate. He understood human mind. He understood human emotions. He understood human dilemmas. He understood human vulnerabilities. And he didn't speak as some ideal world scenario. He understood the difficulties. And I think Vedanta gives you two ways. It gives you a great escape to escape everything, because it tells you you are the whole and you are Brahman. There is nothing else in the world. So, you can very conveniently bypass the whole world and create your own world of some spiritual oneness, and which is completely removed from the world. Or you can, Vedanta also gives you a great opportunity to not only expand your vision of the realities, but to be totally grounded to here and now. And to deal with life challenges and life situations in a most human way, without trying to escape anything, and at the same time with certain perspective which doesn't shake you so easily. And Vedanta offers this, and this, according to Swamiji, is real Vedanta. The other Vedanta is world of ideas, which are wonderful ideas, but little bit takes you away from the truth of life that exists here, and it doesn't give you enough ability to deal with things. And what he used to say is that is not real Vedanta. And but very often people tend to only pay attention to that part and little bit overlook the day-to-day aspect. And we saw that a lot, and that's why we decided to write a book, Living the Vision of Oneness, and how does one bring Vedanta in one's life and live from a certain wisdom, right? Which is not disconnecting with the world, but living more responsibly and living more fully and living with joy and living with enthusiasm rather than removing yourself from the world, right? So this is the idea, how to practically bring Vedanta in your life and live with joy. So let me, before I go to the 8th chapter, which is what are the obstacles in this whole journey of spirituality, let me just little bit explain to you what the rest of the book is, so that you can find the logical thread, right? So you know how the whole vision is. So, as we all know, this is advaita-vedanta. So it's a vision of oneness, and the vision of oneness.
You can also show. Ja, das ist eine gute Idee.
Can you carry it?
Yeah, okay. And this is, I think now your chap all of them. Okay.
Okay, great.
This is not
Advaita. Dvaita is two, and Advaita is no, not two. So that means there is oneness, and where there can be two, it's a technical term. In 3 ways there can be true. Do you want me to use little bit of Sanskrit or not Sanskrit? You tell me. Little bit of Sanskrit? Okay, great. So the two can be in 3 ways. Jiva Jiva Bheda. Jiva Jiva Bheda means I am different from you, you are different from Monica, Monica is different from Kurt, Kurt is different from Amba. So this is individual differences. So we are all different, right? This is one way of looking at duality. The second way of looking at duality is Jiva Jagat Bheda. And what it means is, I am this individual and the world as a large is different from me, and I'm always learning how to deal with this world. And this world sometimes seems very enticing for me, but sometimes seems overwhelming for me. And sometimes I don't know how to deal with it, and the complexities are too many, and my ability to deal with everything is little limited, so I feel little overwhelmed with the world. So this is also another vision of Dvaita. Duality has one aspect, you are different from me, we are all different. The other is my relationship with the world is an external place, and it is sometimes amazing, but a lot of times scary, right? So this is Jiva Jagat Bheda. And then the third Bheda is Jiva Ishvara Bheda. So I am different from the cause of the universe. This universe is so vast and it's so intelligently created. That intelligence from which the universe has come, and I'm just a very infinitesimally small part of this grand scheme of things. So that means I am separate from the entity from which the whole universe is. So all these ideas constitute of Dvaita. Dvaita is two. There are distinctions, either between you and me, or between me and the world, or between me and the cause of the universe, which is what we call Ishvara. Right? Now, what Advaita says is there is no difference. So that is, how is it possible? Right? It's so easy for us to know that I'm different from you and you are different from Martina and Martina is different from. How can Vedanta get away by telling you something which is directly contradicted by your perception? What does your perception report? Many. And what it says is there is one. Do you understand? So how can it get away by saying something which is constantly and every second contradicted by our perception? So the beauty in Vedanta is that all this is not one in the sense that everything, but when you look at Jiva, when you look at Jagat, and when you look at Ishvara, all of them come down to one truth. So these differences don't go away, but when you look little bit deeper into the differences, what emerges is one reality. So a simple example to explain this is a very easy example. Jiva is equal to wave. Jagat is equal to this is the cause of the ocean, and Jagat is what?
Jagat is ocean.
Jagat is also ocean, and this is the creator of ocean, which is also ocean, right? So let's call Jagat as other waves rather than ocean.
What is water?
Yeah. So that means from one standpoint there is a wave, and then there are other waves. We are not saying that there is none, right? And all the waves are part of the ocean. We are not denying that. But when you scratch the surface and you ask, what exactly is a wave? Another reality emerges. Because why? The wave reduces only to name and form. And if you look at the substance of that wave, what is that wave made up of? What is it made up of? Water. And if you look at the other waves, what are they made up of? Water. And the ocean, which seems so mighty, within which all the waves come, by which all the waves are sustained, unto which all the waves go, what is it? Water. So we are not trying to deny these differences. We see those differences, we acknowledge those differences, but what we do is we ask into the reality of these forms, and all of them, then what we say is they collapse in one truth. So what it means is, by understanding this, look at this, a jiva who thought I'm only one little wave and I'm one among many, and every other wave you compare yourself to, sometimes you feel small, sometimes you feel, my God, I'm going to reach the shore and I'm going to become extinct. I feel, I am not as good as or as attractive as others. So all these smallness and limitation, the minute the wave understands that I am water and everything else is water and there is nothing other than water, what does it solve? It solves a very fundamental problem of smallness and mortality. This wave is small. The wave is mortal. The wave compares oneself with others. The wave feels overwhelmed by what the ocean is going to bring next minute. But the same wave, if that wave understands that there is nothing other than water, and at the level of forms there are changes which are going to take place, which are not going to take place, but essentially everything is happening within water, which is actually not become anything. It's only water. It has many appearances. It appears as one wave, it appears as the next wave, it appears as the wave of the past, of the future, and the ocean, but wave remains only H2O. So this is something which is a teaching which actually takes you from one of the trillion entities to the cause from which everything comes. What a shift in your identity. Do you understand? And what did you do to bring about this shift in the identity? What did you do? To become from wave to water, what did you do? Huh? Nothing. You did nothing. This is a wonder of Vedanta. Right? You didn't do anything. You sat here and you thought about it, and you get to, if you think a little bit, if you follow the teacher of Vedanta, what you get to see, you see yourself no longer as a small mortal, constantly comparing yourself with others or feeling overwhelmed. You understand yourself to be the only reality which exists. Now, I wish Vedanta was as simple as that. My job would be over in 2 minutes. I'm finished. Go home. Why is it not simple? What makes Vedanta difficult?
It's very counterintuitive.
Excellent. First, it's very counterintuitive because the minute you open your eyes, what others emerge, right? But not only others emerge, right? Then the weather is not exactly as you want. Either you want it to be little cooler, or you want it to be little hot, hotter, or your boss remains the same. Your boss doesn't change. Your work condition remains the same. All your relationships remain the same. So now your mind is, on one hand, you tell yourself, I'm limitless, I'm only one, and all your challenges remain exactly as before. Nothing else changes. The world leaders remain the same, home situation remains the same, work situation remains the same, the societies remain the same, the communities remain the same. All the situations that come to you remain the same. But before, at least you were saying, yeah, I'm struggling. Now you're telling, I'm limitless. And then that limitless is struggling. Do you understand the trouble with Vedanta? If you don't understand Vedanta accurately, this trouble you can never resolve. So that means to become sane and not to become insane with Vedanta, you need to learn how to deal with the world. Even though this is the reality, which is a fact, you don't need to do anything to produce this fact, but you cannot just say, I know this fact, so everything else, all this is irrelevant. You can't do that. So what does it mean? Real Vedanta is, after knowing or for knowing this fact, you need to take care of this. If you don't take care of this, there is always going to be a gap between what you think you understand and your day-to-day living, and you're never going to be able to bridge it, and there is always an internal struggle. So my talk today is, what are the struggles that people have when they listen to Vedanta, and what are the problems that they go through? Okay, so one of the first problems people have is that of denial. Look at this, the minute I tell myself water is the only reality, and all this, when I look into it, it all resolves in this, then what happens? You deny all these Vedas. You deny that I am different from one person, you deny the fact that the world is different from me, and you deny that I and Ishvara are different. So that denial, what does it do to you? If you deny this Veda, and if you only think about this, what are the problems?
With others in the world.
Sorry?
I've got in trouble with other people in the world.
You will get into trouble because, look at this. When you denial of individuality, your own individuality, if you deny this, there is a huge problem. Imagine I have a body, and the body has its own rhythms, and it has its own cycles, and it sometimes feels good, sometimes it feels tired, sometimes it feels energetic, and I keep telling myself I'm not the body. Do you understand? It creates such a confusion. Do you understand? It creates a confusion because you can't ignore your backache, you can't ignore your headache, you can't ignore any of the conditions of your body, and at the same time you are trying to convince yourself that you are not a body. So that leads to a huge problem. So in the denial of your individuality, what you end up denying. Please, these are the obstacles to Vedanta. If you want to learn Vedanta properly, you need to accept wave is not it's not illusion. Wave is there. It has a more fundamental reality, but you can't deny the presence of wave. You can see something more to the form wave and understand that water is the truth, but without denying this. So let's little bit look into, when you deny your individuality, what kind of problems can come. One of the very important things about in Vedanta, about recognizing and honoring your individuality, is your decision making. Situations they come in front of you and you have to take a call. You have to make decisions what you are going to do, and based on those decisions that you make, what will happen, the future is going to unfold. So if you deny your individuality, who is making the decision? Tell me. Who makes a decision?
But not making a decision is also a decision, basically.
Okay, absolutely. So that means, suppose you say, I am the whole, I am the final truth, I don't need to do anything in this world. So what Ehud is saying is that even not doing anything is what the decision that you make, and not doing anything is the decision that you make. Do you think people around you will be happy? Because you are claiming that you are the truth of everything, and your boss says, yeah, you could be the truth of everything, get this assignment done, please, right? So it doesn't work, or at least wash the dishes in the kitchen, right? So you can't say I'm the truth of everything. So what it means is, life is this series of decisions, and decision making is only done by an individual. It's not done by the final truth. It's done by an individual. So here, if you deny the individual, you tend to, what we do is, we tend to become somebody who is little bit withdrawing from the world, losing interest in the world. But what Vedanta says is that one of the very important requirement before you actually understand this truth is to improve your participation in the world. It's not about withdrawing, but it's actually about improving your participation in the world. So how do you improve your participation in the world? That individual, before, the individual was only going by the convenience. Now a second way of looking is introduced, and that is dharma. So what is dharma? Dharma, this is your preparation for that final truth, right? The individual cannot just skip everything and declare that I am that final truth, even though that is the fact, but there is a journey towards that truth. And the first thing is non-denial of this individuality. And that person who's trying to stay away or withdraw, that very person has to become actually more responsible. And how do you become more responsible? You become more responsible by not always going, whenever a situation arises, not only going by your likes and dislikes, but to factor in dharma. This is your connection. This is your journey towards that vision of oneness. So what is dharma? Let's little bit look into dharma. Is this logic clear to you? Do you have any questions or do you have any comments? Do you have any? Okay. So, dharma in Vedanta, there are two ways of looking at dharma. One is called samanya dharma. And the other is called swadharma. And what is samanya dharma? It's universal ethical values. So what does it mean? What it means is, if you want to know the final reality of oneness, the journey starts with not skipping the world and declaring everything is one. The journey starts with little bit making more responsible decisions, right? And they are not only governed by what you like, what you dislike, but to become a little more aware of dharma. So, universal ethical values is what we call samanya dharma. Now, the minute we use the word dharma, and if I translate it as ethics, this is perhaps the closest English word, then the question comes as to, are there any, like, who decided what is ethical behavior? What is ethics? This is a common question. And what is the source of ethics? Who taught you that this is ethics, this is morality? Who taught us morality? What do you think?
Well, you could say the cultures teach ethics, but there are also things that you know without any culture having to tell you about it. You just know it. It's self-evident.
Okay, great. So that means, according to mostly the people, the way they understand ethics, one is your parents told you what to do. Your teachers in the school told you what to do. The laws are created, which is a commonly agreed understanding that if I go and steal something, I'll go to the jail. So that is what we call a legal system. We have created a legal infrastructure to make sure that everybody's interest is protected. So you have legal system which defines what is allowed and what is not allowed. Then you have culture. Then you have sometimes religious commands. Religious leaders tell us what to do, what not to do, and that becomes ethics, right? So we always, most of the time, we think that the source of dharma is outside. Somebody told you how to behave, right? Now, as long as you think that somebody taught you how to behave, how are we faring? Are we following all the ethical codes as a society? That's somebody told you, your parents told you, your teachers told you, the law is there. Are we all following everything? If we were all following everything 100%, what would be the world like?
Boring.
Very ordinary. What we see is chaos everywhere. So what it means is, look at this. This is very interesting. As long as the source of dharma is external, what happens?
Once the external authority goes out of the room, then it becomes different.
Actually, you know what Ehud is saying is so right. I was a small kid, right? And I was sitting in my room and I was like, yeah, suppose I do something wrong, right? Sitting here and thinking really badly about somebody and all, you know. How will anybody come to know that I'm somebody sitting in some corner in the world? how that person is thinking and to give me retribution for that. It's, for me, it seemed like an impossibility. So what it means is your mind finds a way to do things which are not right, but to escape the retribution. Every time it is dharma is external, there is always a difficulty in following it. So that means, how do we follow dharma? Why should I follow dharma? That itself is, so that oneness is very far away. Our journey towards oneness starts by asking these questions. Right? Ultimately, you go to that final truth, but the final truth is not available just like that. So what it means is, how, first of all, asking what is dharma and what is source of dharma. So, Vedanta, unlike any other tradition, says, what Ehud says, that dharma doesn't have an external source. External source may reconfirm, but ultimately it comes from, there is a law of dharma. Like there is a law of gravity. And that law of dharma is known to me by my common sense. Nobody needs to teach you what is the right behavior. Let me develop a little bit and then you can ask a question. What it means is, a small child knows that I can't hit somebody. Because even if, suppose, the child went out and he hit somebody, when he comes home, he will not tell his or her parents. Why? Because the child knows, if I tell my parent will tell me, right, that this is not the right thing to do. So what it means is, all of us have come with an innate understanding. And what is that innate understanding? I don't want to be lied to and others don't want the same. I don't want to be cheated and others don't want the same. I don't want to be hurt and others don't want the same. This is something which is part of human psyche. It is not external teaching, it is inbuilt in human psyche. So what it means is, if there is a law of dharma and if you are not aware of this dharma, you are not responsible. But if there is a law of dharma and you are aware, and then if you choose not to follow it, then you are responsible. So what it then means is that if I know what is dharma, and if everybody equally knows it, why don't we all follow it? You see, it's not a commandment. It's not somebody is telling you what you should do. It's more of, if I already know it, what is the difficulty? Why am I not able to do it? So what do you think? That, the fact that we know dharma doesn't mean we all follow dharma. So now the whole question becomes, why am I not able to do what I know is the right behavior?
Because I want something so...
Okay, there are multiple reasons why we don't follow dharma. You had a question?
Yeah, I think it's not as easy.
It's not as easy.
It's you say, if we are so clear what is right, and even if, there are conflicting values, so, one value can say, I want to take care of my parents. Another value is, I want to be there for my friend. Another one is, I have to take care of myself. I can't do everything at the same time. So it's not that it's so crystal clear what Dharma is.
Excellent. Right? So even though the basic understanding is there, it's not as sophisticated. So I'll develop this idea. Very good. Thank you for pointing it out. So what it means is simple things like non-cheating, non-hurting, non-lying is something which is actually part of my program. And something simple like this also we are not always able to follow. Then forget all the complexities that you are introducing, right? So why first, let's look at something that everybody understands through their own common sense. Let's little bit look at why they are not able to follow it. And one reason that somebody gave is what? I have conflicting values, in the sense that I know that cheating is not good, but I also know that this little cheating will get me, let's say, euro 25,000. Little. Then what's going to happen?
No, this is clear.
It's very clear. Which direction is very clear? I'm not clear. But you're right.
It's so simple.
It's so simple, right? Exactly. That's why it's not so simple. It's not simple because we have conflict of interest, right? So then it's very easy to say, yeah, okay, now I know that it's not good to cheat, but you know that little bit cheating everybody does now, like you know what? And then I know that the 25,000 euro, I know exactly what I'm going to do. I'm going to go, I don't know where, in France, in Brittany, I'll go and have some nice buy some lovely French clothes and have some lovely dinners and rent a nice villa, and I know exactly what to do with that. But being honest, what is my reward?
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't mean like it's just luxury items. I could say, I pay for the
Yeah.
education of my
And to the children,
It's another benefit.
absolutely,
So-
right? So there are many things that I can do, right? Either I can just have these luxury things, or I can educate my kids, or I can do so many things. It's very, very clear to me. But I'm not very clear about, okay, this is something which I understand intuitively, but if I go with that, what's my gain? Do you understand? This is the kind of confusion that we all, please don't think some people externally, they live with this confusion. All of us have this confusion in one area or the other. So that means the dharma is not as simple as it sounds, right? Because we have conflicting values. So one is we have conflicting values and we don't quite know how to prioritize that. What is the second reason that we are not able to follow dharma? What we know to be intuitively right. What is the second reason?
Urges, desires.
Okay. So, sometimes we have what we call binding desires. And the binding desires are so binding, I absolutely must have this. And then I have to have it at any cost. So I must have my promotion. So for that promotion, even if I have to do a little bit of politicking, I have to go and say a few bad things about my colleagues, spread some rumors, or go and talk to my boss and show the boss that I'm really good. So somebody was telling me that everybody who goes to work, they all complain about politics. But everybody complains saying, I'm subject to somebody else's politics. And if everybody is a victim, who's the perpetrator? Huh?
Always the other.
Always the other. But for everyone is the other, then who? So we twist the things, right? This is human nature. We are really intelligent, but we are also super intelligent to convince ourselves everything is right. Everything that we do is right. So that means our desires that are so binding, they create pressure in us, and then we yield to that pressure. The third thing is sometimes what happens is, it's interesting, right? Even though these values are inbuilt in you, if you have had a lot of pain in your childhood, what happens is the values become distorted. I'll give you an example. There is Surya gave me, which I will tell in a brief, right? So there was a experiment done by Yale University, and the Yale University experiment was that, this whole thing, what is the source of values? Is it coming from external learning, or is it something that we know ourselves? So what they did is they exposed a child to two scenarios. One is a scenario of cooperation, and the other is scenario of non-cooperation. So the child who's never learned anything from external source was made to look at two puppets, and it's a scenario of cooperation. So what it means is, one puppet was eating and the other puppet was helping the other puppet. The other scenario was of conflict. So one puppet was eating and the other puppet was disruptive, always taking away the food and disturbing the person. Now the child was made to see this and the child was made to see this, but the child is very young. So that you can't ask the child, what do you prefer?
We're speaking of babies who are
Yeah,
like
babies.
1 year, 1 year and a half and so on. No?
They are not able to express, right? Where do you think the kids, the little babies, which scenario they were attracted to? Cooperation or conflict? Cooperation. 90% was cooperation. So that means first they were exposed to cooperation, then conflict, and then both simultaneously. And where did they look more? They looked at cooperation more. So this is how you understand that the human nature, simple human nature, is that of cooperation. But what they did is, now, because it's an experiment, so now you start disturbing this child. So somebody goes and, is not kind to the child, and the child goes through this multiple times. Then they made the child see what happened. What happened?
The natural program is disturbed, and
The natural program is disturbed, and now the child is more paying attention to conflict. You understand? So what it means is, we don't all behave honoring our natural program, and that is not because we don't know it. We know it, but in spite of knowing it, we do things differently, because either you see your gain, or you have some binding desires, or you yourself are disturbed. Or sometimes what the external influence. And what is the external influence? You live in a society which tells you that a successful person is this, and suppose you buy into that value, you want to be that successful person. So how many people, suppose I don't know, in India, we all have our own definition. I don't know what is in Germany, a definition of a successful person. General. And how many people fit into that successful person scenario? And then what happens is, nobody wants to be outside that group. So what happens is, in a chase to be, wanting to belonging to this particular group that the society recognizes as successful, what happens is our common sense values all become much clearer. Is it clear? Over a period of time. Now, to this, we add further complications. And what are the further complications? Mahabharata is a classic example of further complications. So in Mahabharata, I'll just talk about certain characters, right? So, one person is not following dharma for a very simple reason that he is greedy. He doesn't care about fairness. He wants to be the king. He wants to enjoy the kingdom, and what happens to his cousin, what happens to the kingdom. He doesn't care. So that is one reason why he doesn't follow dharma. Personal interest. But the other characters are much more complex. The other characters are, there is one character who has taken a vow, right, to protect whoever is the king of Hastinapura. So now he feels that he has to protect that king. So he doesn't ask himself a question, this king is a greedy king, why should I support it? So he is committed to his vow and his principle. What is that commitment doing? What is that commitment doing? Is not giving him the ability to decipher what needs to be done in a given situation. Is he a bad person? No, he's not a bad person. Why? Because he thinks that he has taken a vow to protect somebody and he's doing it. But what he forgets to understand is that it's not his personal interest, principle. I have given my word. And because I have given my word, I have to stick to it. So that means inflexibility to look at what exactly is the situation and what is called for. So do you see how there is one thing which is common sense ethics, but the complexities and the difficulties of figuring out what needs to be done in a given situation. Then there is another character who felt abandoned. Because he, as when he was born, he was left in the river, and his parents kind of, brought him up. But he had the story that his personal story was, I'm such a great warrior, but people don't recognize me. That is his whole story of abandonment. People don't love me, they don't recognize my talents. And now, this adharmic person who was completely only thinking about his own well-being, he saw this person and he helped him. What happened? The person who felt not loved, and you get love from somebody, what do?
Get attracted to this person.
Get attracted to this person. So that means this abundant person was helped by this person who was totally adharmic, but because this person helped him, what happened? Loyalty. Everybody abandoned me, but this person helped me, so now I am forever obliged to this person. Are these bad people? They are not bad people, but are they doing the right thing? No. Complexities. Then there is another person, which is a very interesting person, which is Yudhishthir. And Yudhishthir has yet another story. And what is the story? I want to be so good. I don't want to harm anybody. I don't want to hurt anybody. I am strong and I want to make sure that I don't take advantage of anybody and I give everybody else what? Benefit of doubt. What is this person? What is happening to this person? What is this person living from? Being over nice. Not having boundaries. Not being able to stand up and say, I can be good to you, but I can't let you abuse me. So he had no boundaries. So this is Yudhishthir, super nice person, but not being able to do the right thing because overly nice. So you have, one is wow, abundant man, the other is like textbook nice, but not being able to protect oneself. And then you had Arjun, who is the main character in the Gita. And who is Arjun? Arjun is the one when he has to stand up, right, for the kingdom. He says, these are the people who I love. How can I fight them? So what is interfering? Emotions are interfering. So do you see that dharma, even though it is common sense and it is universal, how many difficulties are there in following dharma and doing the right thing to do? It's highly complex. Can we create a picture? Please understand. Can we create a picture? Good, there are good people and bad people. And good people always make right decisions and bad people always do mess up things. Can we? No. This is not the truth. So what it means is, all these simplistic beliefs that we have, Vedanta makes us question it. You can be very good. Arjun was very good. Yudhishthir was very good. Right? Even Karna was not an ordinary human being, but they all had difficulty in doing the right thing, making the right choices for different reasons. So what it then means is, I can be a good human being and I still may be making wrong choices. Is it easy for you to recognize that? Is it easy for us to, it sounds, Brahman, limitless, sounds very attractive. But looking into yourself and saying, how am I making my decisions? What is the place from where I'm coming? Right? Even if I'm a good person, I'm overly carried away by idea of loyalty or by my emotions or by my so-called principles of my own pressures of being nice to others, which doesn't allow me to decipher in a given situation what needs to be done. Sometimes I also get attracted by my own temptations, my own likes, my own dislikes. How difficult it is. My own pressures. So that means your journey towards becoming a healthy individual. Now look at this. Please don't start your journey with I'm no good. And you have to start with your journey with I'm not ordinary human being, but I still have a long way to go in what? Understanding the intricacies of dharma and getting my mind to what? behave and to be able to decipher what needs to be done in a way that is not getting carried away with anything. Who can develop this kind of a mind? You need to make an effort. This is why in Bhagavad Gita, right? Because look at this. Arjuna was already a dharmic person. He was not somebody he was not like Duryodhana who had no idea of dharma. But Lord Krishna talks about dharma to him. Why? Because even though he was a good person, he was struggling. He was struggling to figure out what was the right response in this situation. The complexity is too much. So what do we need to do? Get ourselves to become a little bit more refined, and that is part of our journey. If you deny I'm an individual and I'm Brahman, will you undertake this journey? If your starting point is I'm not the body, I'm not the mind, I'm not this, I'm not that, I'm consciousness which is limitless, will you undertake this? And this refinement is necessary for every human being. Where am I coming from? That little reflection on where am I coming from when I make my decisions. How do I make my choices? Right? Is it easy to figure out? Is it easy to dig a little bit and make those changes, those little changes within you, which will give you a clearer understanding of what needs to be done? Am I getting too carried away with the idea of loyalty? Am I getting too carried away with my emotions? Am I getting too carried away with my principles and I'm not able to see things clearly? Am I getting too carried away with my self-interest? Am I getting too carried away with my own self, preserving myself? Or is my pain ruling the decision making? What is ruling my decision making? So that is one analysis which is extremely important. And the denial of individuality doesn't allow you to do this analysis. The second thing which is also very important, and that is samanya swadharma. And I think somebody was saying, I think it was you who was saying that you have multiple roles that you play. So that is called swadharma. So when you deny your individuality, you also deny this second analysis. One is samanya dharma, the universal ethical values. And the other thing is your personal duties and responsibilities. So, the Vedic culture, what it says is, one thing is common to everybody. The other is specific to you. So what it means is, you enjoy a very unique place in the grand scheme of things. And your presence in this world is not just random presence, right? You are connected to so many people. And what you do matters not only to people around you, but it matters to people who you may have never met. And also for generations to come. So, now, a simple example, right? Somebody who had to renovate this place, right? The carpenter or the mason or whoever. And he was basically bored. And he was interested in watching some reel, suppose. That doesn't happen in Germany very much. People are very attentive. But that very easily happens in India, right? So you're bored and you're looking at your, something to entertain you on your social media. And you do a shabby job. You don't want to harm anybody, right? You just are bored. But how many people, that shabby job, how many people it inconveniences? You will never meet them. You will never know the kind of inconveniences they go through, but it impacts so many people. You may not have the intention. You may just feel that, okay, now this is monotonous, this is boring, so let me entertain myself. But every small job that all of us have done, right? And it has impacted the world in ways that we don't know how. What is the second level of maturity? The second level of maturity is to recognize that I am connected to many forces, I am connected to many human beings. What they do matters to me. So what I do also matters to them. I can't just say, let me live my life the way I want, because I have duties and responsibilities towards many people, because I live in an interconnected world. I can't be removed from people, right? So therefore, these swadharma, look at this. The beauty of swadharma is, how do I know what are the sets of my duties and responsibilities when I live in this world? So look at this. You want to understand I'm one, and you want to understand I'm limitless. But where does your journey start? Getting all this right. This is Bhagavad Gita. Right? Otherwise, you are like, I'm limitless, and now what? What am I going to do? This is your journey towards becoming a mature, healthy, wise human being who then understands the deeper truths in life. So, little bit, let's look at Swadharma. And Swadharma is your self is at the center. The self is at center, and you're connected to many entities. And you have duties and responsibilities towards all of them. So, first, who are these people and where do you have responsibilities? Who are you connected to? One is definitely your parents, then you have your spouse, then perhaps your other family, then you have workplace, then you have community, then you have your nation, then you have the whole humanity. So what it means is you are connected to multiple entities and you are not just a single non-connected human being. This is the truth at an individual level, right? Now you need to assess how well are you faring in performing your Swadharma. This is all your journey towards the final truth, according to Gita. What are the difficulties? Where do you think we all go wrong in performing Swadharma? What are the kind of challenges we have?
To find out what is mine.
Okay, exactly. First of all, nobody looks at one's life in terms of what are my duties and responsibility towards people that I interact with. Mostly we are all totally self-absorbed and we want this and we want this and we want this and we want this. Everything that we have we take for granted, and anything that you don't have you complain. This is all we have learned. Feel the highly entitled position, all focused on me and all focused on my needs, and constant anything, all the lovely privileges I enjoy, it's all, yeah, it's okay, fine. One thing goes wrong and your mind starts, how can this not happen? This is what we call a life which is focused on me and myself and not seeing yourself as an integrated part of a whole complex scheme of things. We are overly self-absorbed. So that means to see yourself, because look at this. A farmer, if he put little bit more pesticides, while it's going to immediately affect what you consume. So what it means is we are what you consume and what effect it has on your health. So if the truth is that all of us are connected, but if I don't see that connection in my daily life and I'm totally focused on myself and my needs, then somewhere my decision making is all skewed. You understand? So that is also Vedanta. It's not about denying individuality. Please understand. So please don't repeat that I'm not the body, I'm not the mind. If the body and mind is an instrument that is given to you to know the truth, the first job that needs to be done is make this instrument a noble instrument, which can actually become, it is much more thoughtful, much more responsible, much more wise, and not, totally oblivious to how the world works and your responsibilities. So now, what is one problem? What are the problems? First is identifying who are the people that I'm connected to. But the second thing is, suppose I identify, what happens? Even if I know that I have dharma towards my parents and towards my kids and towards my society and towards the community and towards the nation and towards the humanity, do we always honor it? We don't. And what are the troubles? What are the problems? What do you think are the issues? Yeah, Volker.
I think it's the same as for drama.
Yeah.
So it's my desires, it's my all the things that we choose.
I'm so focused on myself that I forget what, and what is convenient to me is the most important thing for me. And if I have to go a little bit beyond my convenience and to incorporate others' interest, then that becomes really difficult. Okay, great. That's one of the difficulties. The same as samadhi dharma. What else?
What someone said before, that there might be a clash between two things, how to prioritize.
Okay, great. Okay, anything else? So there may be a conflict between two roles and then we don't know quite how to manage that. Yeah.
You already said it.
Yes,
It's a paradox.
It's a paradox, absolutely. So what is interesting is Surya makes people do this exercise right in this university. They are all MBA students, and what he says, he asks them, what is your priority, right? So they are young kids of 25, 30 years old, and they all say that, my family is my priority, and I really would love to, I love my family. And then he asks them, how much time do you spend? So, how much time is spent in work is 80%, and how much time is spent in the family is 20%. So what it means is there is a certain disconnect between what I think is my priority and what I end up doing. And then sometimes, as you say, that it's not always very easy because there are demands and my job. So one of the things that happens is we over-identify with one role and we underplay other roles. This brings imbalance. So one thing, suppose your spouse and your own immediate family becomes a priority, everything else takes a backseat. And suppose your work takes priority, all your time is spent here and all the other responsibilities are overlooked. So we do need to little bit readjust our time spent within the possibilities and become much more aware of multiple responsibilities and a little bit be aware of the time spent. Now the second problem we have is in one relationship, right, there is a changing demand. So suppose you are married to somebody. So recently we met, somebody who's 60 years old, but he got reunited to his girlfriend, who was his girlfriend when he was 17 years old. So now they are in their 50s, late 50s, but they behave as though they are 17-year-old, all very much in love. And for us, it was very interesting to see how two adults who are like in their 50s, they behave like teenagers. Right? So, and that honeymoon is going to last for how long?
2 weeks at the most.
So what happens is, as the time goes, right, in any relationship, you need to redefine that relationship. The relationship cannot, any relationship, whether it is your spouse or it is your kids or your parents, it needs to keep redefining, right? Otherwise you get bored, it gets monotonous, you then start wavering here and there, and new challenges arise in every relationship. So I have to tell you this story, which is, my teacher was an amazing teacher. So he brought us two together, right? And he said, even if I brought you two together, I have no idea what kind of situations will arise in your life.
I was playing it safe.
It's true. And you don't know what life will show you. Right? Because we all enter a relationship thinking, oh, this is the most, the mature person and the most, and he perhaps
These
thought
both ways.
until and then many things come up and and you're every day discovering the person, right? And every day there are surprises. So what happens is we need to, now imagine if we have an ideal in that relationship, which person can fit into that ideal? Nobody. Nobody. So what happens is the relationships go from this very romantic, oh, this person is the end all, love, and to all the disappointments. Because that person cannot no person, forget one person, no person can satisfy all your needs. There is no human being like that. The more idealistic you are, and the more possibility of disappointment. So what does it mean? We need to be able to reshape the relationship. Same relationship. You can't make it boring, you can't make it hopeless, you can't make it monotonous. You have to make it interesting, but you have to keep reshaping it. And something where you feel nourished without everything happening your way. Right? You have to bend at times, you have to take leadership at some times, you have to keep changing. In that is your growth. How much are you able to stand up for things that you want and things you can't just be a chameleon and keep changing colors. You need to recognize your values, what is important to you, what is non-negotiable, but within that, rediscover, redefine, and have a certain malleability, where to keep that meaning going, and at the same time not expecting everything to be perfect. If these are some of these small projects that we undertake in our life, you will see how much your life will change, the ease with which you live. Right? And it's non-idealistic, everything has to be perfect, otherwise I'm complaining. All this, how many of us fall into this? So that means finding solutions, making progress. So everything, whether it is a relationship with your parents or reinventing with your spouse, with your family, at work, right? One thing I found that when I was working, some people who are very well, they think they want to do good to the world, but I have found that over idealist people, they don't do well. They have good intentions. They want everything to be wonderful. So they have good heart, but they end up being dissatisfied. Why? Because everything doesn't work in this ideal way that they imagine. Then they are disappointed. So I have met people who joined because I worked with the UN, so it was all mostly people want to do good for the world, they want to do good for the nations, and they think that they are able to contribute a lot, to making the world a better place. So they came with a good heart, and after 2 years, they were only complaining. Why?
Because nothing changed.
Nothing changed, absolutely. Nothing changed. Nothing changed, maybe things changed, but not to their idealist thing. And what then it means is, you're creating a mental picture. I am very noble, and I know what has to happen, but others are not able to see what I think, and they are either inefficient, or they are not clear enough, or they have other interests which are not in keeping with the ideals, and every minute of their life they are always not happy. Now, what is a contribution of a person who has these incredible ideals but is always unhappy? What it means is we have so many filters, and we look at the world in so many ways which is unhealthy. We are good human beings. Please don't think that we are not good human beings. A good human being can be very misguided in multiple areas. So that means that even at your work, this Swadharma is something which is so important. When you are a young entrant, you have a different role to play. When you are a mid-manager, you have a different role to play. When you rise in the ranks and you are, you have higher responsibilities, you have different roles to play. So there is a beautiful verse in Bhagavad Gita which says that Swadharme nidhanan shreyaha paradharma bhayavaha. What it means is, even if you do your own job, but with full concentration, full dedication and do it with all your heart, it's much better than sitting in your chair and constantly finding fault with this ego. It's very easy to do that. But in doing so, then what is happening to you? Your motivation levels, your contribution, it goes down. So that ability to focus on what is in front of you and do to the best of your ability without your mind getting overwhelmed with hundreds of other things. And itself becoming all over the place. We take on too many loads from what is happening around us, and in taking in this load, what happens is our own efficiencies go down. So anybody who has succeeded, right? One person was asking me, in today's world where everything is so chaotic, so there are wars, and then there is fuel prices and whatever, and the stock market, and then there is environmental global warming, and too many complexities and too many difficulties. How can you remain cheerful or joyful or focused? It's complex. So how many hundreds of problems you will find, but if your mind is occupied with only that, what are you doing? Which is within your capacity, that may be a little bit, but it can be very powerful. How to remain focused on, if everybody is complaining about nobody is doing their job well, who will do their job well? At least you can do it for yourself. And that is a huge contribution to the world. One cheerful person working hard and doing what needs to be done without carrying the load itself is a gift to the world. So recently, none of you know, in India I can read these examples, but here nobody understands. So it's okay, I'm still new. So there was a cricketer, then he came to play. So this cricket is a game that we all play in India. And he was brought because the team was doing really badly, right? So he was brought, so it's a huge thing about his career because he got a chance to play for India. And he said while he was playing, he first, the interview, he played very well and India won. So the interviewer was asking him, what was going on in your mind when you were batting? And he said, when I first came on the field, all kinds of thoughts started coming to me. First, about my own possibility that I was chosen to be in the team. And if I don't do well, again I will be out of the team. And if that happens, what is my future? And when will be the second chance? So imagine how much your mind is loaded. Then all the other people were getting out. So that the trauma of, oh God, they are all getting out. Now how will I stay on? So that then if we lose this match, right, then how will India be out of this tournament? And all these thoughts were coming in his mind. None of these thoughts were irrational thoughts because this is real, right? There is a game, you have to win the game, then you have to win the tournament, and it's your future involved, and then there is a little, you are scared how others are playing. But if you carry all of this, what will happen in the next ball? What will happen?
You're not precise.
You lose it, it is over that way. So what he said is, my mind was going through all these thoughts, and I had to tell my own mind what. Yeah. He says, if I all this is right, it's not right, but this doesn't help. What really matters is what I do with the next ball. That next ball I hit, and by hitting every ball accurately, I can win the match, I can be in the team, India can win the tournament, but all the solutions lie in by negotiating the next ball. This is how we all have to live. Otherwise, life becomes heavy. Everything around you, tell me what is working 100%. What is working 100%? And if your focus is only on problems and all the complexities and all the difficulties and all the people who are involved and how they are not doing what they are supposed to be doing, and where does it take us? How many hours do we spend complaining about things? And how many hours we spend about non-accepting facts?
It is clarity, it is mastery of the mind to understand how it works.
Absolutely. This clarity of mind is required for Vedanta. This is our first job. Without this job, right, this oneness, even if it is true, your mind is living from a totally different reality. And there is no match between what Vedanta is showing you and where you are operating. And if, look at this, at least you may try to, but if your Vedanta starts with denial, I'm not the body. When will you ever even honor this individuality and make all these changes that are required, without which Vedanta doesn't make sense? You have two parallel realities and you're struggling.
The human being reality is confused. Then.
Yeah, then it's all confused. Then the more your mind shows you, hey, this is what you need to work on, the more you then want to shove it, because then it comes on the way of your so-called world of everything is wonderful. So it takes you, look at the paradox, it takes you further and further away from reality, while you tell yourself, I'm going closer and closer to reality. So that means these are very critical things of how am I negotiating, right? How flexible am I? How realistic am I? How am I able to accept this multiplicity? How I'm able to be in a problem-solving mode and focused on my duty rather than finding faults with others. These are all the things we need to think about. Yeah.
But isn't it true that we are today in a much harder position than the world was 4,000 years ago, just by virtue of being flooded with information and connected on social media and this and that? There's so many more things to worry about because you know so many things, or think you know.
So I feel, I don't know, right? I feel that so you have this much information, and then what you are saying is then you have much more information in today's society. But if your mind lacks clarity, it makes whether it is this much or it is this much, it is unclear.
You decide what you're letting
And this is why what is said in Bhagavad Gita as a growth required towards this knowledge is still as valid as it was 4,000 years ago. And nothing else has it. Even with so much more information, the basic issues remain the same. People are not able to follow dharma, they have dharma confusion. People are not able to recognize Swadharma. These problems, these patterns remain the same.
Now, another question I want to ask. We talked about various clashes within each of these dharmas, but what happens when you have a clash between these two types of dharmas?
Excellent. So, let's take it at a simpler level and then let's take it at a little larger level, right? So, simple level.
Lima, you have to think about the pause
Break.
at some time.
Yeah, let's break. Okay. So, I'll end the session with a prayer and then we can, I didn't realize that was 7:57. Om Purnamadah Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Shri